Hello, everyone, and welcome to Notre Dame Postgame Live on the voice of college football. It was another great day for the Irish as they shut out Boston College in South Bend 44 to nothing. It was just a great day all around for the Irish as they had their first ever shutout of the Eagles and the biggest win in the series since 1992, which consequently was the year before Boston College made it a series in 1993. Unfortunately, they did pretty much take away a national championship from the Irish that year. So since then, it's become a pretty big rivalry, even though both teams don't play each other every year because the ACC doesn't want Notre Dame playing the marquee opponents until they actually join the conference, which who knows, the Irish could join the conference soon the way that everything is going. But definitely the Irish definitely took down the Jesuits today. I know BC isn't a great team, but the Irish haven't had a great history this season against bad teams. Of course, losing to Stanford and Marshall, and being competitive with teams like Cal and Navy. So just putting it on one of these smaller teams, it's a big progression for Marcus Freeman and this coaching staff as they can now win the big games big and also win the small games big. Of course, the Irish showed they can have big wins in the big games against Clemson. Drew Pine went 13 for 25. It wasn't his best day. Of course, that completion percentage still wasn't that high. But Drew did what he needed to do. No interceptions, so definitely a 156 yards, one touchdown, 117 passer rating. So he was adequate, of course, not quite as good as someone such as a Tyler Buckner would be, or a healthy Phil Dracovic, as we'll get to Phil later. But definitely a good day from Drew. But the big star of the day on senior day, who's not a senior, is Benjamin Morrison. This guy, this freshman corner, stole the show again with the 3 interceptions. 2 of them were in the first half. And if he isn't a freshman All-American, we're rioting. We are rioting on Twitter here, on Notre Dame Twitter. And his 3 picks were the most since an Irish player, since the great Harrison Smith, who's having another great year with the Vikings. Unfortunately, not today because they got shellacked by the Cowboys, which sucks. Although I'm not a big Vikings fan, I did want them to beat the Cowboys, but they didn't. And of course, that's a great stumble where the Irish just completely shellacked Miami in the Catholics versus Convicts rebirth game. But yeah, so Ben Morrison, of course, he had 2 picks in the Clemson game, so he now has 5 picks in the last 3 games, which is just incredible. Irish are going to, of course, we'll need them in the Shillelagh against the Trojans coming up. We'll get to that game soon. We got a special guest coming on. But yeah, just another great day for Benjamin Morrison. Imagine he's only a freshman, so just imagine how much better he's going to get. Really excited to see his progression the next 2 years in South Bend. And of course, another big headline is the great Isaiah Foskey broke Justin Tuck's sack record at Notre Dame. Feel a little bad for Justin just because he was such a great member of Notre Dame. Just a great example in general. But his 25th career sack did break Justin Tuck's record, as Justin did say something on Twitter, and I'm going to try to find that. As Isaiah Foskey is from LA, went to St. John Bosco, so really excited to see him do well in the Shillelagh game. As I'll try to find that later. But yeah, just really excited for Isaiah Foskey and just what he's going to do. I'm so happy he came back for that senior year, as he wasn't getting the love that he was hoping he was going to get from the scouts. And he came back to South Bend this year, and he came back in a big way. So really happy for Fofsky. He's been such a great person and a great player. You listen to these guys, they're all really humble. And yeah, as Jason Stapp tweeted, and Justin Tuck recorded this, congrats, bro, on your sack record for lasting this long. He said to Justin Tuck, and special congrats to Isaiah Foskey for number 25. So just so happy for Isaiah Foskey, and hopefully he can keep doing well this year for the Irish. I'm sure he will. I'm sure he will make some plays. And of course, even though he's not a senior, we know this was his last game in South Bend. And I was a little emotional, of course, for the seniors, but even for Michael Mayer as well, even though he's not a senior, as he played his final collegiate home game in South Bend. And of course, he's going to be a first-round pick because he's so great, as he had another touchdown. Well, he didn't have a touchdown, but he did haul in 5 passes for 64 yards, and he passed the 2,000 career yard mark, and just the 13th Irish history to do it. So he's just such a stud, Michael Mayer. As I'm sure he'll be doing great things for the Irish this year. And of course, the snow came back. Obviously, us Irish fans, we have seen snow in Notre Dame Stadium before, and we're perfect in it. Irish are now 6-0 in Notre Dame stadiums, according to Notre Dame PR. They said on their Twitter that Notre Dame is 17-1-2 in snow games. The lone loss coming in 1895 to the Indianapolis Artillery when the team was still playing on Brownson Hall Field. In Notre Dame Stadium, the Irish are 5-0, 9-7 versus Navy in 1937, 40-12 against USC in 1957. 48-0 against Army in 1974. That's Era's last season. And of course, the Buses' big touchdown to knock off Penn State in 1992, 17-16, in the last time that they played in Notre Dame Stadium until Brady Quinn's senior year in 2006. And of course, 23-13 against the Bicycle College BYU. So I'm going to check out the comments. And Z-Thigh says, still battling the flu. I think there's some remnants of the flu still with me. I'm still getting a stuffy nose. But overall, I feel fine. So thanks for looking out for me, Z-Thigh. It's just another great day for Notre Dame, as they finally get that big blowout win against a team that they should be under Marcus Freeman. And if we're getting the blowout wins and the big wins, the Irish are looking pretty good. Are going to be in a pretty good spot, as the Irish moved up to 13 in the AP poll, 5 spots. There's so much craziness in college football. So it's no wonder that the Irish moved all the way up to number 13. And of course, there's other big news this week for the Irish, as 4-star quarterback Kenny Minchey, he decommitted from Pitt. And of course, this does not make good old Pat Narduzzi happy. The biggest crybaby in college football. The biggest crybaby in college football is going to be crying again, as the great Kenny Minchey, who's from Pope John Paul II, and which is also Golden Tate School. So I'm sure Golden played a bit of a role in getting him here. We're going to look at his Elite 11 highlights. It's normal. Once this ad ends, I'm going to be sharing my screen. We're going to be checking out Kenny Minchey. So I'm going to share my screen. He's not quite Dante Moore, but he's similar enough. We're going to look at his highlights here. As he's probably going to has like the best arm out of any guy that Notre Dame is going to get in a while. Of course, he hasn't committed to Notre Dame just yet, but he's not really opening up his list once he decommitted to Pitt. He's really only looking at Notre Dame. And there is a chance that he'll go back to the Panthers. But I don't know if Pat Narduzzi wants him just because of how big his ego is. Of course, we saw with Jordan Addison, he was not quite too happy about him leaving Pitt. And I'm sure he's not going to be happy once Kenny Minchey goes to Notre Dame. As he's doing these. As you're looking at these passes. This doesn't show as much as the huddle tape. I might go find that. But his passes are looking really accurate. More accurate than Drew Pine's passes, I'll say that. But yeah, really excited to see this guy get into South Bend. He might get reps next year if Tyler Buckner goes down again because TB has had a history of injuries this year and his senior year. He did get injured. So who knows what's going to be happening with Tyler Buckner. We all hope he stays healthy. Why should a quarterback go to Pitt over? And is he related to Dan Marino? Well, I think the one reason that Kenny Minchey did commit to Pitt was because of how good Kenny Pickett's been looking. Like, Kenny Pickett is a first-round pick. So that's really the only reason why I could think that someone would go to Pitt over Notre Dame. Well, anyways, I don't see much comments about the Notre Dame game. So we're just going to hand right in with our special guest, Tony Altimore. Tony, what's going on?
Hey, how you doing?
Tony, your Trojans had a huge win getting the victory bell over the Bruins. Take your mind through that game because it was back and forth. It was a good one.
Oh, sorry, my hair's a mess. It was a wild one. Certainly had folks on the edge of their seats. What was really interesting about it, and I'm sure most of you guys watched it, so I won't spend too long on it, is USC started off the game playing really strong on offense and terrible on defense, but the offense just couldn't get it together in the red zone. They had 2 red zone trips, 0 points. I mean, a shanked field goal that was so shanked, it just shanked on a level that they don't like junior high level shanking. And the fans started to get frustrated. Turnover. Caleb Williams threw an interception, which he never does, which they immediately scored on in like the next play. It was really terrible. Team's down 14-0, and all of a sudden comes back to be within 1 point by halftime. And so when we looked at it, in fact, I was talking to Tim Plea, our co-host of the USC postgame show at halftime, and we said, all right, we should be up by a lot. We could be down by a lot, but thank goodness we're going into this at a 1 point wash. And the team took advantage of, played great in the second half, built a pretty good lead. UCLA came back a little bit. It just ended up, just kind of a duel for the ages. UCLA scored, USC scored, UCLA scored, USC scored, and we ended up up 10. They drive and score, so we're up 3. We get the ball, and we're trying to drive and just can't do anything and punt. And we're like, oh, God. And Joel Klatt had said, this game just feels like if you punt, you lose. Mm-hmm. One of those kind of wild back and forth. I mean, UCLA's got great running backs. They've got an amazing quarterback who's an amazing running quarterback. Sort of like some things Notre Dame doesn't have, thankfully, for next week. But, Dorian Thompson-Robinson, just phenomenal player, playing his heart out, can't stand USC. And with a minute to go, he throws it up the middle, and one of our guys, Corey, who's just a phenomenal player, but has had not as big an impact this year as folks thought, just had a breakout game, nails the interception to seal down the win. And in front of Josh Pate, in front of the whole country, I mean, Caleb Williams put up over 500 yards of offense himself. Just a surreal game that really lays the framework. We were talking a lot last night about how this game very much reminds us of what happened in 2002. Pete Carroll's second year when he really turned the team around, and they started off kind of slow, doing all right. Lost two. I think they lost 2 games. What, Cal and Kansas State, or I forget exactly who it was.
I don't know. I know Kansas State was one. Cal was probably one.
I think Cal. I could be. It might not be Cal. I'm forgetting. Tim will scold me in the comments for that. And then just started marching through the season. All of a sudden, threw Carson Palmer there on the national scene. UCLA made him a star. Notre Dame locked in the Heisman for him. So here's hoping that'll happen. And Jackson, everybody's talking about Notre Dame USC is gonna be a lot of fun. It really is. Cal was 2003. Thank you, Gumby. UC Regent Gumby. I like that. Who was the second one in 2002? I'm forgetting. It was Washington State, wasn't it? It was Washington State. Thank you. It was the Cougs in 2002. That's right. Anyways, it was the Cougs in Kansas State. But then Notre Dame, I mean, he won with UCLA and Notre Dame, he won the Heisman. Mm-hmm. And if Caleb Williams could have another game against Notre Dame like he had there and do it in the 12th championship game, he may find himself back in New York. Now, December 2nd, USC goes to the championship game.
Mm-hmm. No, I do think we have a better coach than we did in 2002, and we have a better coaching staff and a better team. So I'm feeling like it's not going to be that sort of disaster. I feel like it's going to be a great game.
You also have Drew Pine.
Mm-hmm. Well, was Carlisle Holiday that much better than Drew?
That's a really good question. That's a good, maybe actually.
The offense in 2002 was bad. It was the defense that really carried that team.
But it's going to be a great game. It's the glamour game. It's for the jeweled shillelagh.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, you can't get much cooler than that, can you?
You can't.
The shillelagh. It's in South Bend, and maybe it needs to come on home.
Mm-hmm.
But
I hope it doesn't. But I know it's going to be a great. It's going to be a great game.
I think it's going to be a great game. I'll tell you, Marcus Freeman has that team playing phenomenally. And the other thing is, I think there's a huge issue with this game, which is that, so you guys murder stomped Clemson. I mean, just murder stomped Clemson. So there's kind of a debate right now sitting there where folks are saying, if USC was to win out and if Clemson was to win out, oh my God, what would we do? What will we do? Well, we have a real easy answer.
Yeah.
Because you murder stomped Clemson. So if USC wins out, then Notre Dame is the decision maker that says USC is better than Clemson.
Of course.
If you guys beat us, well, then it doesn't really matter because we're out.
Yeah.
So, but again, with the thing about this game, either way, we said we'd be happy with 8-4 at the beginning of the season.
You wouldn't be happy with that with 4 losses now.
But how amazing has this season gone? How phenomenal has Lincoln Riley redefined expectations? I mean, no, it's amazing. But my point is, when folks get all stressed about it, I like to point out, I'm like, guys, remember, we said 8-4 would be great. We said 9-3 would be phenomenal. We said 10-2 would be heaven. We're now looking, we might be 14-1. Who knows? So it's really kind of exciting.
Mm-hmm.
Regent Gumby, that's right. It was Wazoo. Screw Wazoo. I should hold if I didn't love their chancellor because she's so cool and was on our show, I might hold a grudge.
Yeah. Well, I think there's going to be some really fun matchups in this game.
There are going to be.
The matchup that'll probably decide everything is Notre Dame's defense and USC's offense. And I'm really proud of the way our secondary has played this year. But I'm a little scared. I'm not going to lie. I'm a little scared with Michael Jackson and Jordan Addison.
And Kyle Ford.
Yeah.
And Williams will probably be back. He was on limited play this time. He'll be back strong. Kyle Ford. Brendan Rice is great. That receiver room is ridiculous.
Mm-hmm.
But the O-line was the story of this game as well. The O-line played phenomenal against UCLA.
Yeah.
And they because our main runner Travis Dye was injured, any season-ending injury last week, And so Austin Jones and Raleek Brown and those guys just played lights out, and we ran just as well as we did before. So
yeah,
we'll see.
You see, Regent Gumby's talking a lot. You see Regent Gumby. You got to be back for the post game show, win or lose.
Okay, and Regent Gumby, I wish they would bring ACC refs to the game, because the only thing worse for the ACC refs are Pac-12 refs.
ACC refs. I'm sure Jim Phillips was paying those ACC refs during those Syracuse and Clemson games, because
and the Cal game,
were not Irish fans.
Somebody was paying during the Cal game.
Yeah, we might have paid for the Cal game, and I think Jim Phillips paid them for the Syracuse and Clemson games, because those refs in those games really did not want the Irish to win. They really did not want us to win.
Well, you see, Pac-12 refs, they're so bad that there's no bias in Pac-12 refs. They are not competent enough to have a bias. Actually, that's not true. There are 2 Pac-12 ref crews that are actually quite good, but the others are just absolute disaster. So we'll see.
We'll see.
I love Tim. Riley does what Riley does. Double-digit wins. Yeah, it's phenomenal. I mean, it's unreal. And what was really exciting for me is to watch the team on the field last night. They changed procedure. I don't know when. It used to be they did not turn the victory bell over until like the Monday or Tuesday after the game. It was like a secret handoff. And actually, this is probably a very Mike Bone thing to be like, no, we'll take it as soon as the clock goes. Last night, they took control of the victory bell immediately. Connor Johnson, that is shameful. No, he is not. He is a pox on society. That's a Pac-12 ref, Will, that you hope to never see.
Yeah, I don't think anyone wants to see him ref.
Nobody does. You see that, and you're like, oh my God, no. He's the second worst. But we'll see.
Who's the worst?
Oh no, there's one that's worse.
Who?
I think there's one that's worse. But it's neck and neck. It's neck and neck.
Neck and neck. All right.
And it's the whole crew. I mean, it's not just one guy. It's the whole crew. So I don't want to rip on one. Make it clear, I'm not ripping on one guy. I'm ripping on like 16 guys.
He reminds me of the butler from Even Stevens. Now I need to look up the butler from Even Stevens. We need to see who this is.
See who that is. They are, I hate docs because they're like actually like insurance brokers and they're probably like really good people. They're just, not great referees. There's a guy who's really good who's actually worked national championship games and does the Pac-12 championship game. He did like the USC Colorado game, very good, very well done. I thought the refs last night were quite good. They were very good.
I've heard of that show, but it definitely was before my time, Connor. It definitely was before my time.
Thanks, Connor.
No, I think like Notre Dame does have a very strong defensive line with Jason and Justin Admiola, Howard Cross, Riley Mills, Isaiah Foskey.
And they have a very good offensive line.
Yeah, with Joe All.
With your quarterback situation, if you didn't have a very good offensive line, you'd be 1-11.
Yep.
So, I mean, you could probably go in there and do fine as quarterback. Maybe not quite, but speaking of Drew Pine, his dad is on the new Big 12 corporate advisory board.
Oh, that is interesting.
Which is funny because they're going to hate me for saying this. A lot of like the raging Big 12 fans on Twitter are like kind of dolts. Mm-hmm. And they like none of them knew. They were all like bragging like, we have this guy, George Pine. Ha ha ha. I was like, it's Drew Pine's dad, people. So there's some talk like, when Mr. Carr comes into town, might Drew Pine find his way to the Great Plains? We'll see.
Who knows?
Who knows?
Tim Meadows.
Hey, now don't insult Tim Meadows. Tim Meadows is awesome.
Is Tim Meadows on some good shows?
Yeah, he was on Saturday Night Live.
Okay.
For a long time. Thank you, Tim. But yeah, I thought that was interesting. I actually think it's really cool, though. One of the neat things about that. So, guys, I love the Big 12 commissioner. He's actually awesome and really smart, super cool guy, and I think exactly what they need. Their Twitter netwits notwithstanding, the actual people who are running the conference now are fantastic and doing great things. And it's really cool that he set up this new corporate advisory board with CEOs and big time lawyers and singer. I mean, Garth Brooks is on there, who's an Oklahoma State grad. All these folks from all over the business and entertainment world, legal world, marketing world, regional folks who've all come together to help really think how the conference can be doing better. And from that end, I think it would be pretty sweet if it can make some good impact. And Drew Pine's dad's part of it.
Yeah. Who knows? Drew Pine could be, I don't know. Like, I don't know if I would want him if I'm a Big 12 team, but if someone wants him, they'll take him.
That's right. I mean, he's a good guy. He seems like an awesome guy.
Oh yeah, he's a great leader.
Interviews and stuff. Like, you want to hang out with him. You totally want to hang out. And we tease him for not being Caleb Williams, but nobody is.
Yeah.
So,
he's going to get a degree from Notre Dame. Like, he's going to do well.
He's going to do. Yeah, he's probably going to go work in private equity with his dad, and make more money than anybody in the NFL.
Yeah.
Yeah, because he's a great guy, and that's and that's one of the things that I love about Notre. Because you got some of you guys on Notre Dame channel don't know this. I almost went to Notre Dame. I actually knew what dorm I wanted to live in and everything. Decided to go to USC. Said kind of late at the last minute. Notre Dame and Michigan were the other two schools I was looking most closely at, and a little school in Michigan as well. And love Notre Dame, love the people at Notre Dame, and so I have a special feeling for for the Irish, even though I hope you lose, because we need SC to win. But but the world is better when Notre Dame and USC are battling it out in the last game of the season with the whole country watching. So some of you guys don't know. We call this the glamour game. There's actually a book. And if any of you guys are big football dorks like a lot of us, there's a book actually called The Glamour Game, which is about this game, and it's a few years old, but there's a QR code on there to Amazon, or you can just look it up on Amazon. You can get it. It's pretty old. I think it ends in like the 90s or something, but it tells the story of the rivalry and the history and really what makes Notre Dame versus USC so great. So if any of you guys are fellow football dorks, it's certainly a great pickup.
Mm-hmm. Definitely will check that out.
Yeah, The Glamour Game is a great book. So if anybody wants, snap a picture of it or you can snap that QR code, or you can just grab it, look it up on Amazon. It's kind of a fun one.
Yeah. So do you think that Caleb will have, because Caleb hasn't turned the ball over much, do you think that there's a chance that he might be forced to make a mistake with how good the D-line is? Because USC hasn't faced a D-line like Notre Dame. So do you think that there's a chance that they can get – because Benjamin Morrison, he's had 5 picks in the past 3 games. And I know 2 of them were against DJ. Well, one of them was from Cade Klubnik. One of them was from DJ. And Caleb, I do think, is a better decision maker. Yeah. But do you think that it went – because I did think he threw a pick against Arizona State.
He's thrown, 2 picks the entire year, maybe 3?
Yeah. But I feel like Notre Dame's just
the whole year.
Defense. Do you think
that's the thing is maybe you get 1. Our defense will probably get more.
You think?
Yeah, Connor, they're the Rams.
Yeah.
And by the way, Connor, USC is not in Inglewood; it's downtown. Inglewood is out by the airport. Mm-hmm. And actually, Connor, I also went to grad school in West Philly, so my mom said I never found a bad neighborhood I didn't want to go to school in. Actually, though, USC is incredibly safe. People don't realize that. Caleb has 2 in the last 2 games. Yeah, I mean, if Caleb throws 1, Drew Pine will throw 3. So. The thing is, I think USC will probably win the turnover battle. For Notre Dame, if they can keep that down, keep the ball on the ground, don't fumble it, don't turn over on downs. Like, that's going to be, I think, key. Possessions with USC's defense, possessions are key.
Tony went to school with the Fresh Prince.
No, I went to 2 very similar schools, that sort of like exist in their own little corners of the world. They're pretty funny. Yeah. Thanks, Connor. In West Philadelphia. Although I will tell you, when you start at Penn and you're in school, like you like walk through the neighborhood and you think of that song way too much. But then again, in LA, you think of all of the LA songs as well. If ND can establish a slow tempo, yeah, Gumby, I think you're right on that. It's gonna be really important for Notre Dame to control the tempo if they want to try to win, and it's gonna be important for Notre Dame to do things like just stop USC in the red zone, force USC to make mistakes, force USC to kick field goals. I mean, that if you look at what happened with UCLA and Oregon, if any of you guys saw that game, UCLA they didn't punt anything. They were kicking field goals and Oregon was scoring touchdowns, and all of a sudden Oregon was up by a lot of points. And a strategy like that might work, but it's going to come down to the question of can Notre Dame put the ball in the end zone? USC's defense is very bend don't break. So I mean the thing is they're they do this thing where they let you march down the field 70 yards pretty terrifyingly, and then they pick you off. Or you march down the field and then they block your kick, whatever. They have a way to just stop you from scoring somehow, despite looking like Swiss cheese and tackling like powder puff sometimes. But I'll tell you, one of the big differences is going to be if Eric Gentry can be back at the Mike linebacker position. They jokingly call him the angry giraffe. He has like a 7'6" wingspan. Guy can fly. If he's in there, it will be a very, very different game than what you've seen the last few games.
Connor, our favorite Beaver, do you agree with this statement?
UCLA is real good. The problem with Oregon State, if Oregon State had a good quarterback, they definitely could. Branson is no DTR. Yeah. I mean, he might be a nicer guy on Twitter. He might do more shirtless selfies, but he's not as DTR. DTR is a great quarterback. And I'll tell you, that guy works hard. He was kind of devastated last night, and I did not have a lot of sympathy. They ran their mouths a lot this past week, and USC said nothing in return until the post games last night.
Now, there's one thing I forgot to mention before I brought you on, Tony, but I think you would have a good, interesting viewpoint on this.
This is scary.
No, it's not that scary. So, do you remember Phil Dracovic?
I should. What is he? Who's he?
So he was an ND backup for Ian Book, but he never got a shot, even when Ian Book played pretty bad.
I don't know. I will say I have not devoted a tremendous amount of memory to Ian Book's assorted crew of backup lackeys.
So he was a quarterback at BC, and he was putting up great numbers, especially in the COVID year.
Oh, he transferred to BC?
Yeah.
Oh, okay. And so he upgraded to the Jesuits.
He did. He did move to the game.
I'm teasing. I'm teasing Notre Dame fans.
He did a good year in 2020 and then got hurt in 2021, came back and did well. But BC lost a lot on the O-line, and he got destroyed. Like, he got injured, out for the season because he just kept getting sacked, kept getting hit.
Okay.
He had a bad relationship with Brian Kelly and Tommy Rees.
Really? I'm surprised because Brian Kelly seems really personable.
Yeah.
He just seems like the kind of guy you want to get a beer with, doesn't he?
So he had this really
long statement. Go dancing late at night?
He had this really long statement about Notre Dame that he posted on his Instagram before the game. So I'm just going to read it out.
Oh, read it to me.
I always really liked Notre Dame football, despite most of my family having no affiliation or affection for the school. I turned down some great opportunities in order to fulfill my childhood dream of playing on the team, and I thank everyone who helped make that happen. Good fortune allowed me to meet some incredible people while there. Players, coaches, professors, priests, etc. Notre Dame has been a tremendous force for good in the world, and it will continue this excellence because of its good people. Some derogatory comments have come out in the media in regards to my perspective on the place, and I'd like to clarify. Notre Dame holds some of the highest ideals, and there can be very These are very difficult to live up to. I don't think the institution practices its stated virtues in all aspects of campus, but I urge you to do so because it could do better. I wish many of those I met much success. Anyone close to me knows how badly I'd love to play in the game, but I'm currently recovering from a diagnosed concussion, broken rib, and sprained MCL. As it relates to Boston College, even amidst the most difficult year, I've never been more proud to represent the school. The adversity we face has molded and strengthened me. We are primed for success, and it will come soon to the heights on eagle's wings. Although it has been a famine of a season, we should note that it brings no fear. Let's remember, Boston College was founded for and by Irish immigrants. Notre Dame was founded by the French, something they teach you in the first year.
Oh, the little zing. I like the sass.
The Dropkick Murphys were started in Boston, and their song for Boston is our fight song. They sing I'm shipping up to Boston, and definitely not I'm shipping up to South Bend. So if you're in that stadium,
I did not see this, and I love it already. I like this guy. I wish I knew who he was.
So if you're in that stadium and you cheer when that song comes on before kickoff, know that you are either rooting for BC or otherwise supporting a cultural appropriation. But in words of Mac, it ain't nothing but a brand name.
That's awesome. That's fun. I mean, that's just fun. I mean, he's not ripping on Notre Dame. He's just teasing. And that's some good-natured, you know what that is? That's the Jesuits talking, isn't it?
Yeah.
That has like just a high enough level of better than you. I don't think I've ever read a sassier, more Jesuit Instagram post.
It is very sassy and very Jesuit.
It's a very sassy Jesuit. Oh, my friends, my brothers. Nice song. It's actually ours. Thanks. Hugs. Mwah.
Yeah.
It's the priest at BC helped him write that. They certainly signed off on it.
Yeah.
They're like, look, we're going to get creamed. We're going to get a win on Instagram.
Mm-hmm.
We're going to lose on the football field. We're going to die in the snow. But dang it, we're going to win on Instagram, at least somehow. Mm-hmm. That's great. That's really funny.
Yeah.
I mean, and I can't really criticize the French aspect of it because, I mean, my beloved alma mater's mascot came based on it was based on a track meet they lost from a nickname based on an award that those people lost.
Mm-hmm.
So we'll take it.
But if we had Phil this year, with how good
he looked, better,
we would be in the playoffs. It's so frustrating.
Yeah, because you wouldn't have lost to Stanford, you wouldn't have lost to Marshall.
Yeah, and we would have
lost Ohio State, but
we probably would have beat Ohio State because we would have had better throwing.
Ohio State's pretty good.
They didn't play well, and they still beat us.
Hold on. Do you have your rose-colored contacts in?
I watched the game, Tony.
So did I. Oh.
Phil hasn't moved on. It's been 2 years. You verbally drilled BK, and now this.
I mean, both are fair. You want to drill BK? That's fair. And it is confession. I mean, that's pretty. This was pretty cute. This was just sass. This was fun sass because he didn't say anything bad about Notre Dame. He actually, I mean, he was saying good things about Notre Dame and the people. He didn't say things like, "Hey, you know what? When your law professors get nominated by the Supreme Court, they perjure themselves. Isn't that cool? When they go to the parties, they spread COVID through the White House. That's pretty cool too." You know, he didn't say anything like that. He just said, "Hey, you stole our song and culturally appropriated our founders." I like it.
We were up on Ohio State late in the third. And if we would have had just a couple of better throws, like I love Tyler Buckner. I want him to do well. I was expecting better from him in that game. And if we would have had Phil, like
you probably would have done better. You wouldn't have won, but you'd have done better. You would have beaten. You would have beaten Mark, but you lost Notre Dame. You lost USC, so you'd be over. You know, you'd go to the Cotton Bowl, or you do your thing where you go to the Fiesta Bowl and then get like slaughtered by Georgia or somebody. Oh no, is Fiesta Bowl part of the playoffs this year? I think it is. Never mind, take it back. Where you go somewhere? Cotton Bowl.
Yeah, that's what I want. I want us to beat the Trojans, get into a New Year's Six bowl game, and win it this year.
I don't think you're going to a New Year's Six game after March. Well, actually, with a little chaos, a couple losses, you might be able to.
Yeah.
Wisco Trojan, that's a really good question. Will CJ Carr reclassify into the 2023 class?
So the quarterback we were looking at,
Kenny
Minchie, the quarterback that I was showing his Elite 11 highlights. He's going to be our 2023 quarterback once he commits.
Okay, so CJ Carr is going to say 2024?
And CJ Carr will say in 2024. So we have our 2023 quarterback and now our 2024 quarterback. So it took us a while, but we finally got
you need a 2022 quarterback as part of your problem.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, you just do it. Like, I mean, your guy got hurt. That's it.
Yeah.
It's the hard thing about quarterbacks now is you finding the right one and having more of them that can step in. USC is really lucky. Our backup quarterback seems to be really good. Yeah. So we're lucky.
I'm still bitter with the Ducks for Dante Moore.
Yeah, I'm surprised they pulled that actually.
They gave him the money. They flashed him the money. They're like,
welcome to the Ducks.
Yeah.
Quack, quack. We need to focus. D-Rock Irish says, we need to focus on USC and forget Marshall and Stanford. No New Year's Six. Carr's not reclassifying. McKinley hasn't signed up for Notre Dame yet.
I think he will. I mean, why would he decommit for Pitt?
And D-Rock Irish, see, one of the things that's so fun for USC fans, why we love to bring up Stanford, is because it's also making fun of Stanford for being so bad. I mean, I don't know if you guys heard, Stanford is 1-15 in their last 16 Pac-12 games. 1-16. I think because I'm trying to think who they beat.
ASU, right?
Yeah, you're right. I think they beat ASU. Who then didn't ASU then immediately go beat Washington? That was
very Pac-12.
That was very Pac-12. Well, Washington hasn't. I mean, we're talking about old times here. Washington hasn't won in Tempe since 2001, I think. 2001, 2002 was the last time Washington won in Tempe. They are cursed in that stadium.
D-Rock, do you want New Year's Six if we can get put in it, or do you just want us to stay in like a Camping World Bowl or Citrus Bowl or the Cheez-It Bowl? Because I want to get that New Year's Six monkey off my back as soon as possible.
Well, and to Gumby, the question about Stanford being a bigger blemish, Stanford's problem is they're also being cursed by the football gods because they have suspended the tree. They have not won a game since they suspended the tree. So free the tree. The tree deserves to be free.
Did you see any of that Stanford Cal game? Because I saw that the tree was up.
Well, there's a Vichy tree.
The Vichy tree was up.
The Vichy tree was there. The tree is not there. The tree wears black. There's a black tree right now. The real tree is black. The Vichy tree, which is actually the last tree, is there. However, he is performing in a T-shirt that says "Free my tree." So he's only partially a Vichy tree.
D-Rock thinks it's fine, but I don't think so. Well, I don't know. Just with all the chaos and with Notre Dame's resume, I feel like we have a chance to get in. Because, I mean, I know in 2016, the Trojans didn't win the Pac-12. Washington did. But the Trojans also got a New Year's Six bid.
Yeah, well, we got the New Year's Six because Washington went to the playoffs. Yeah. And USC that year, if you guys remember, that was the year they tried to imitate Catwoman while playing Alabama. And then lost like one or two other just atrocious games early in the year, and then like put a new quarterback in, and the team really took off, and it was really just a stratospheric success for both USC and Penn State that year. And so the Rose Bowl chose to take USC, but it was a little controversial because they chose USC over Colorado, who had also played in the championship game. So it was a little bit of scandal there. But
Colorado's one good year.
I know, that's all right. D-Rock says burn the tree. Ugly. No, the tree is classic. Hope for the Gator or Holiday Bowl. Tony's mayonnaise or cheese. I know. No, yeah, no Cheez-It. And now there's multiple Cheez-It bowls. It's getting ridiculous with the Cheez-Its.
Mm-hmm. Ian, of course, not big. Ian, of course, is a Buckeye fan, wants the Irish to win. It's weird. The Trojans and the Buckeyes have this strange relationship.
The Trojans and the Buckeyes?
Yeah, the fan bases do.
They do, but they've had fun together. There are some really funny. The old blog, Every Day Should Be Saturday, which recently closed, unfortunately. If you go back, they did the funniest comparison. They were at the USC Ohio State game in Columbus, and they did like a fan comparison breakdown. And it's one of the funniest things I've ever read. Like I almost fell out of my chair laughing at it.
Mm-hmm. And D will probably be 14 in the win.
But they get along.
Mm-hmm.
And I feel like they administratively, they're partners in crime. Mike Bone and Gene Smith are already doing podcasts together. Like, I think the rest of the Big Ten is going to hate. Like, the Big Ten kind of hates how Michigan and Ohio State do their thing. And I think Michigan and Ohio State just, like, brought in some new best friends. And the rest of the Big Ten is going to be like, oh, God, why was this a good idea? It's going to be funny.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So I think that top ACC bowl that's non-year 6 would be the Cheez-It, but I don't know.
I don't really care for you guys or just in general?
Just for the ACC, because we get put in the ACC bowls.
Oh, you do? You guys? That's right. You go into ACC bowls. That's right.
Yeah. I just want to at least play a big program if we do get into a non-year 6 bowl game. Like, I don't want to play Iowa. No disrespect to Iowa State, but when we played Iowa State in 2019, I'm like,
is Iowa State bowl eligible?
No, I said like a team like Iowa State. I don't want a team like Iowa State. Like, I want to play LSU again in a bowl game, or of course, or like at least like I'm trying to think of or like a Texas.
Yeah. Oh, you guys would probably beat Texas. That'd be kind of fun.
Oh yeah, that would be fun. Me and D4 talking. We would be chirping. That would be fun.
Yeah, D4 is a riot. Where is D4 tonight? Poor D4. D4's team, phenomenal. D4's been helping coach a high school team, just phenomenal season. But they finally went down in like the state semifinals last night or Friday night.
Oh no!
Yeah, he's just done a great job with them.
Of course, we have the Michigan fans now thinking if they can root for Andy just because it would help their playoff hopes and not feel dirty.
Mike, you would feel dirty doing that, so don't worry about it.
I felt a little dirty rooting for the Trojans. I'm not gonna lie. I never really felt the Trojan hate, but like rooting for USC, it was weird.
You see, you don't have to root for us so much as be pleased that we're winning. That's what you want. You want us to be strong when we play each other.
Yeah.
Like, and that's how I think. In all honesty, that's how I think about Notre Dame and Clemson. I used to joke to some friends that Notre Dame fans, don't be offended by this. I said that Notre Dame was a lot like the Soviet Union in my mind, because like we needed them to manage their corner of the world, you know, and keep the mess from their corner of the world in check. And so, you know, we need Notre Dame to do things like take out the Tennessees of the world, which you guys used to do all the time, and the Clemsons and the North Carolinas, and like just shut down all of that nonsense. So that then when we play you guys, it'll be all things will be right again.
Dependent Fanatics showing some P12 love.
Hey, we'll take it. They do have 6 good teams. You're in Dependent Fanatic. I think you're right. Like it's amazing. This conference has a lot of strength, but it comes from, you know, say what you want. George Kliavkoff went to every Pac-12 president when they were hiring them because they were sort of like we're in a mess right now, and everybody kind of had a bit of a come to Jesus moment of themselves internally where they were like, wow, our conference is a mess and we need to take football more seriously. And then as they hired Kliavkoff, he immediately went to every single school to talk to them about how they were going to turn around their football programs. And you guys, I don't know if you guys know this, but there's only in the last 2 seasons, I think there's only like 4 Pac-12 coaches that weren't changed. So I think it's 4. It might even be 3 in the past 2 seasons. Just the past 2 seasons, they're all replaced. And so it's what 3 because it's Stanford, Utah, obviously a legend. Wilcox has been there for a few years at Cal. I think there might be one more. I'd have to. Everybody else is gone. I think. I guess Chip Kelly. Yeah, he's now in year 5. So I guess 4. The other 8 have all changed them. So it's a pretty amazing cycle of focusing on trying to do good things. And D-Rock, you're right. They need to be good, and that makes the game fun. And the other thing too is when every USC Notre Dame game I've gone to, although there's some nasty Notre Dame people have said some the Notre Dame Twitter folks I haven't felt this from. They're pretty nasty, but the Notre Dame fans, you go to Notre Dame fans are great. And you go to the USC Notre Dame game, and I mean, folks are teasing each other, but it's not like Michigan. They're not throwing mustard on each other. They're just, they're not pouring beer on each other like they do in Ann Arbor. They're just having fun.
Most of the Notre Dame people that are nasty, the younger people that are nasty, they all went to Holy Cross. They probably couldn't get into Notre Dame.
Oh no, they didn't. They went to Glenwood, Illinois Junior College, and they've never even been to a Notre Dame game. And USC is the same thing. The nastiest USC person I ever saw in the stadium, who I was appalled by, I actually talked to for a minute because I was like, "Who is this douchebag?" And he went to Northridge. Yeah. From Cal State Northridge, and he's screaming at Stanford about how much Stanford sucks and it's a joke school. I'm like, it's kind of the number 1 school in all of football. And I was like, the dude went to freaking Northridge, and I was like, what are you talking about? The actual USC people, on the other hand, are a lot of fun. Indy has the best away fan base I've ever been to, not even close. Tim, they're great. I love going to Notre Dame game because, again, remember, guys, I almost went there. I knew which dorm I wanted to live in, which unfortunately they tore down, where they stop being a dorm now, but it was going to be so fun. Notre Dame was the first place I was ever wasted beyond out of my mind as well. So that was fun. Mm-hmm. We'll save you that story when we're not offline or we're not online.
This is one of the big keys to the game from David here. Hey guys, I'll be at the College this Saturday. Hoping we can be in our Pac-12 championship and get to the playoff. Can SC stop the Notre Dame run game?
We can stop it more than they can stop us.
Yeah.
That's what I think. That's the hoping. Mm-hmm. And Notre Dame hoping the opposite.
I was talking to that caller last night. What was his name? Eddie? Was it Eddie?
Eddie's awesome. Eddie Reyna. Eddie's great.
Eddie's really confident that they'll stuff our run game, but so is Clemson. I agree with him. You agree with him?
Well, but Clemson plays in the awful crappy conference. So what are you going to do?
I need to find this Twitter receipt from Jordan, who we love from the Clemson channel.
Oh, we love Jordan. D-Rock Irish grew up, started watching. Yeah, D-Rock Irish, you would love that book, The Glamour Game, because it'll talk about every one of those games. It's a really cool one.
I'm just gonna bring it up on my phone.
He ended up in jail. Well, I thankfully didn't have to go out of the dorm, so I was safe. I was safe. We didn't have to leave Flanner Hall.
Mm-hmm. That is good.
Too funny. It's gonna be a great game, guys, and we hope you guys will all join us, because after the game on both Mark's USC and Notre Dame channel, Tim and LBC and Will and I and everybody from both the Notre Dame community and the USC community are going to host a joint post game. Mm-hmm. It'll be remote, so there'll be no punches thrown. It'll be safe. Just kidding. No, it'll be a great game. It'll be fun to have everybody, and we want to have all you guys come join us and chat about it.
Where is that tweet that Jordan sent? Here it is. He's saying that my man Joe Alt wouldn't be able to stop Miles Murphy. Please, Jordan, please.
Yeah. What did you guys beat them by? 140-2?
35-14.
Close enough.
Yeah.
You murder stomped them. I mean, it was funny to watch.
It was fun to be at.
I know. I can't believe you were there. I was loving Will's texting me pictures and all. I'm like, oh, it's so cool. And inside I'm thinking, I'm like, okay, Will's gone. It's game. I'm like, I'm going to feel so bad if Will goes and they get killed. And all of a sudden I'm like, Will has brought the energy because they are just destroying Clemson.
Mm-hmm. It was a great night. Such a fun night. I need to go to Notre Dame Stadium more. I need to save up more money.
If they found out you were the cause of it, they'd fly you in on a jet.
Mm-hmm.
It'd be like, meet us at Dulles. We'll get you there.
Mm-hmm. I flew out of Reagan. It's always a little scary flying in and out of Reagan because of how steep when you land, you like go because there's not that much room to land.
I lived in DC for a long time.
Yeah, so it's a little scary.
Oh, there's places that are scarier. They like John, like if you ever fly out of John Wayne in Orange County, like to the noise regulations, like the plane just like shoots like straight up. It's crazy.
Yeah. Well, I'm gonna send the the call link if anyone wants to join us. Always fun talking to the fans.
And I got to drop off in a second. Get ready. We're gonna be hosting the College Football After Dark show later tonight on Mark's channel with Tim Prangley as our main co-host for tonight, which is going to be really fun.
Yeah.
So anybody who's still around, we'd love to have you. UC Regent Gumby, did you watch the Regents meeting? I mean, surely you were there as a Regent, but did you actually watch it?
Mm-hmm. I need to watch some highlights of this.
Of what, the Regents meeting?
Yeah. Do they stream it?
Yeah, so they do. So we actually are gonna. I think we're gonna tape it tomorrow with Mark. We're doing a deep dive into the whole situation with charts and highlights and like a quick slide that shows like each person, like what they said. I'll give you guys the preview. A lot of people have different interpretations. The big thing, and I worked in government for a long time, and so I've sat through lots of government oversight meetings and dealt with Congress and all that. The big takeaway to me is that they did not talk, not one. So they had a closed session beforehand where they talked about legal and finance stuff, not public. And then there was the open session. So you know that the open session was after whatever the real any fireworks of discussions. The first thing they did was they announced that there would be another meeting in a month to finalize decisions. But the thing is then afterwards they talked and not a single person said a single thing that would imply in any way that they were actually not going to make the move. So they talked about things like, wasn't Regent Cohen, I'm trying to remember, Regent Cohen or Regent Ellis, I forget which one it was that I have it in my notes, talked about how that he thought that at their March meeting, they needed to do some new standing orders to clarify how realignments should be handled in the future. Other people, they talked a lot about what the athletes need and the athletes survey. It was all very oversight and all talking about the progress of moving to the Big Ten and making sure that things were right and things were ready. There was no talk of any kind about like if they don't go or like or anything that implied it was uncertain. And that means they don't have the votes. They're not going to turn it around. And also, by the way, they could have stopped this before UCLA signed the contracts. They have signed the contracts. It's done. And every month that they don't do something in government means that they're much less likely to.
Do you think UC needs athletics committee?
Not really. The Regents are such a high level. They don't want to be involved in athletics. And remember, guys, last time the Regents got involved in athletics, they burned down the conference. Mm. So the last time the UC Regents got involved in athletics, they created what was called the 5-point plan. And the Regents determined there were five academic and like ethics points. And they would not allow UCLA and UC Berkeley to play teams anymore that didn't meet the 5 points. Well, if you actually broke down the 5 points, it turns out there were only 9 schools that met them. The 8 Ivy League schools who wouldn't play them, and Michigan. So unless Berkeley and UCLA were going to each play 11 games against Michigan, and actually UCLA didn't even meet its own requirements. So unless Berkeley was going to play 11 games against Michigan and UCLA not play, they weren't going to meet them. Not even Stanford met their 5 points. So like the Regents just shouldn't be involved in sports. They're too high. And if you watch the rest of the meeting, like look at the level of issues with things that they deal with. They're dealing with things on like state legislative levels, not on like, should we be in this league for water polo? So anyway, I'll get off my soapbox.
Ian was in the linebacker lounge. I was at the Whopper in South Bend, and that whole street that it was on, all Clemson fans. And I was terrified that they were going to take over like Georgia did in 2017 or Nebraska did way back in the day. I was terrified at that time, but
those fans take over.
It was a planned takeover of that street. But of course, when I got to the stadium, there wasn't that many Clemson fans in there. They're really only in the designated away areas, and there's a couple sprinkled in there. There was two in my row. They looked pretty depressed by the second quarter. So,
well, I wonder why.
Yeah, I wonder why. But have you heard like news about Rudy?
Me?
Yeah.
The movie or the guy?
Hmm.
The person?
Yeah.
No, I don't know anything about him.
Apparently, he's like a huge pervert and like kind of sexist, which is kind of sad. Like all the Notre Dame students, they like think it just got to his head because he always went to like the student bars and like try to take a girl home. So.
And isn't he like 80?
Hmm.
Isn't he like?
Well, this was back in this was like my parents' Notre Dame friends that are like they're like 51, 52 now. So
okay.
He was there when they were there and like that. So I was just kind of sad. It kind of crushed my dreams.
Yeah. The thing is a lot of times people like that you don't really want to meet. Yeah, never meet. Yeah, there's some heroes that if you meet, you'll worship them. And there's others that, you shouldn't. I'll tell you, we talk a lot about what's going on with Elon Musk right now. Be really glad that Henry Ford didn't have a Twitter account. Henry Ford would be in big trouble if there was Twitter. So it's people like that, and he's not even really here. I mean, he's sort of like they made a movie roughly based on part of his life experience.
Yeah.
I'm helping a friend work on a documentary about one of the most fascinating characters in the history of college football, who a lot of you guys haven't ever heard of, named Ronnie Knox. And we have it's wild. Like we have his wife's private journals, where and it's bizarre when you're reading about, so we're trying to put together, and it's fascinating because you have all these different aspects, but people are complex and people are troubled and people hurt other people and make decisions that aren't always great. And so, none of us are perfect either. And you think about what would it be like if people looked on us and every thing we did when we were drunk and stupid, including in the dorms at Notre Dame.
Joe Theismann was also awesome, though. It was cool to meet Joe Theismann as a Washingtonian and as a Notre Dame.
He's a great guy.
His restaurant's good too in Alexandria. Did you ever go?
I down that far. I usually didn't go below Constitution Avenue.
Oh, okay.
I had a very small square. If I was going east of North Capitol Street, I was going to the beach.
Comeback team of the year.
Neither.
Notre Dame or Iowa. Well, I was going to win.
I guess Notre Dame.
But is that
I thought Purdue was going to win.
No, apparently
I thought Purdue was going to win. No?
Apparently, if they beat Nebraska, they win. Even though Purdue also won.
Okay. Who knows? I don't even know. I mean, whichever one of them is just going to get killed in the championship game.
Yeah.
Mike points out, ND.
Mm-hmm. Dependent fanatic. So you're the reason that we lost to Marshall, sir. You are.
That's really funny.
How could you?
That Marshall game was something else.
That was a depressing night.
Yeah, no, but I would say Notre Dame, you put it together.
Mm-hmm.
But everyone was aided by schedules and all that. But Notre Dame, I thought, looked strong and did what they needed to, and has made a good season out of what could have been a disaster. But I think that's a tribute to the coaches and the players, and probably the senior leaders on the team holding that team together.
Yeah.
So.
Let's see. Yeah. So, trying to think of I think we might just end it here. We're gonna have a little break between the. It's 10:45.
For the other thing. Yeah, I gotta get ready for the other thing.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Time to Irish. Fight on, and good luck to you guys as well.
Mm-hmm. Time to move on to the USC game. And we will be talking to it on the Pac-12 show Wednesday night. And we might also talk to it a little bit at the After Dark show. So thanks for coming on, everyone. Always a fun time with the Boys of College Football crew. And thanks again for Tony for coming on.
Anytime. Good luck, guys.
And yeah, we'll be on soon.